Okay, this is going to be the part 2 of the wheel thing. We're going to be working on the inside spacer, which is right here. This kind of goes, and all it is because the rubber band thickness is thicker than the wheel itself, or than the material we're using, which is about 0.125, and the rubber band's a little under 0.25, so we want to double it up and make space for it. So we'll have this across. We're going to do it in 3 separate pieces instead of 1, and the reasoning behind that is they will take up less space on the sheet that we laser cut, so we'll have a little bit more to work with. So let's get started on there. So first thing we want to do is go back up, and we're going to create a new component as a subcomponent of the wheel assembly 1. And that way, when we do this together, it's all going to be kind of together as one piece. So we have component 1, which we're component 3:1, which we're going to call inside wheel spacer. We're good to go there. And so we're going to do create sketch. We're going to base it off of this original piece because that piece is already kind of done. And we don't really want to have to make a whole bunch of new geometry if we don't have to, and pretty much everything is already there. So we're just going to kind of follow it with that. So if you can see, we have this that goes on the inside, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 holes, and then this that goes on the outside, and it's split across that joint. It's just 120 degrees. And we have all of that here. So all we really need to do is do project, and then start grabbing the pieces we know we're going to need. So I don't like to project everything just because it, I don't know, just don't like to. So I need these pieces, and like one from here, and then the center, and then let's say okay. And then let's turn that old wheel off. And we have that center point, so I can just go from here to here. And now from this point, I can just do a line from that to there, and then from that to there. And we know since there's 3 of these, and this is a circle, it's 120 degrees, so it's already done. So now all we need to actually do is just hit E for extrude on this. I mean, it's going to be 0.125 again, because that's the thickness of our material. And we are good. So now we have this entire piece done. We didn't have to do any geometry on this. And as a result of that, if we change anything on the first one, it's going to change the second one. So now what we'll do is we'll turn that first wheel back on. I'm going to turn my assembly back on, and I have my 1 spacer. And I realized what I should have done was actually ground this wheel before I started building off of it, because I don't want it to be moving around. So what I'm going to actually do is go back in time. This is when I created that second component. I'm going to go right before that, when I just did my second extrude. And I'm going to right-click wheel assembly and go to ground. And now that's not going to move around. And then I'm going to go back to the end of my timeline, and now it's grounded. And so this piece is still movable. Control Z, but I want to start kind of joining it in place. So I can do J for join. I'm going to hover over the inside of this little cylinder here. This is where my toothpick's going to go to hold it together. And what that's going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to see 3 separate points. One is this side of the cylinder, one's the center of the cylinder, and then one's the back of the cylinder. And if I try and grab the back of the cylinder, it goes away. So when I'm hovering, I'm going to hold Command down. I'm going to highlight over the back. Click, you'll see that the front gets ghosted out because now you can't see it anymore. I click on the back one, and then it's currently on revolute, but I want it to be rigid. So I'm going to say rigid, and it shakes and says it's good to go, and I say great. Keep in mind I'm doing all this with the wheel assembly 1 highlighted, so all these joints now become part of this assembly rather than part of the main assembly, so I can really move them around. And if I copy and paste it, I don't need to do that multiple times. Now I want to do 2 more of these. I'm going to do Control C and Control V. Can move it off to the side so I can see it. J for joint. Again, I'm going to hover, grab that back one, grab that top circle, and I'm going to turn this again 120 degrees because that's everything is kind of in 3s right now. And then V one more time to do this one last time. So again, J, I'm going to hover over. I'm going to press Command to hold it down. I'm going to grab the back. I'm going to tell it I want it to go to this circle. It's going to say cool. It's straight up and down. I'm going to turn it 240 degrees, which is 120 degrees off. 360, and then I press OK, and I'm good to go. And now I have my full wheel. I'm grouted in place, and I have all my spacers done. So I say cool. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to my kind of outside wheel support. And you'll notice that this is a little bit shorter here, because on this outside one, I don't actually want this to touch the ground. I want the rubber band to touch the ground. And if this is at the same height as the rubber band, then the rubber band won't, and I want as much traction as I can from it. You'll also notice that this one, when we build it, we're going to go straight across here in the front. We're going to go across here and across here instead of having our gap here. And the reason why is because we want to overlap this gap so we're not stacking joints, because it'll just be stronger in the end. So right click, new component. I'm going to call this outside support, which is I think what I called it on the sheet. Press enter. I'm going to say create new sketch. I'm going to do it on the front. And now I'm going to just start grabbing all of the pieces I need. So project, I need this little guy right here. Don't do body. I need this little guy. I need this circle. I need this little guy. I need this little guy. And as always, I need my origin. I press OK. And then what I'm going to do is actually just right click and isolate, so I just don't have all the extra stuff in the background to worry about at the same time. So from there, I'm going to have my my inside circle here and then my outside circle. So my inside circle is 1.125 and 1.45 for the outside, and those are both radius. So C, and then actually the inside I can just drive off of here. And then the outside was 1.45, which is 1.9. No, 2.9 total. And then I have one in the center here. I have one extra circle here that I'm going to add, and that's centered across here. And it is 0.48 above. And that is what the toothpick's going to go in, and that toothpick is what is going to actually hold everything in place. So I can just draw a line across, or actually I'll do X for construction. I'll do my vertical line, which I'll use later. I'm going to move this dimension off to the side. I'm going to do L for line across here. Actually, I don't even need to. I can do C for circle. It is 0.08 again, which is what all these toothpick holes are. Don't want it to be construction. It's on this line, so I know it's going to be centered between these two. And then it's just 0.048 above. So D here to here. So it's over constrained. Why is it over constrained? That's why. Let's try it again. Here to here. 0.048. Great. And then now it's saying it's not defined. So I do want it to be defined. I just didn't want it to be at that same point, but I want it to be coincident with that line. And then there we go. So the next thing I need is the lines coming out here, because everything else is defined by stuff that I've already done. So I'm going to go L for line. I'm just going to shoot it up somewhere around here. And don't want construction. I'm going to do L line again, and then somewhere around here. And again, it doesn't really matter at this point as long as they're touching this the origin and they're touching the outside. And I'm going to do symmetric for these two across that same center line that I did before. And then for the dimension, I can either go off the center and do 60 or go one to the other and do 120. I'm just going to go off the center and do 60. And now this point up here is exactly what I need. So I'm going to say E for extrude, and I'm going to grab my pieces and do 0.125. And now if I right click and say unisolate and go back to my full wheel assembly, I can see it in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 6 of these and I'm going to put them across the front and the back. So the first thing I'm going to do is join this one, J, put this at an angle where I can kind of hover a little bit and see. Hover over the tube, command, grab the back one, grab the front one, and go. I don't know why that put that at an angle, but let's modify that. All right, and then I'm going to do it again. Outside support, Control V. Now, from here, J, hold command down, grab the back one, grab this front one, and then rotate it in. And then one more time, V, move it over, J, back one, front one. Did I freeze? Perfect. And then rotate it down. And then I'll just do the same thing on the back. And now what you'll notice, I'll do the same thing on the back later, but what you'll notice is if I need a second one of these wheels, because I'm building whatever I'm building, I go back to the top, wheel assembly 1, copy and paste. And now I have this entire wheel assembly with all the joints, all the pieces, and everything else in it individually. So if I make any edit to this first one, I'm still linked to the second one. I don't need to do it a second time. So I'll go like that, and I'm ready to go. All right, thanks.